Okay, so today I'm going to try to hone this razor, which is really interesting. It's a circa 1912 to 1921 Swedish frame back, but it's missing the back. There's a tube, usually a piece of metal that slides around here. I'll show you some pictures of it. But the markings on this razor are pretty much well dated to about 1912 to 1921, which is pretty cool. This guy, um, Engstrom, he studied in England under Wolstenholme. And anyway, so I'm gonna try to hone this up using just um, the electrical tape for the back, and we'll see if we can put an edge on it with the water stones, the arc, and then my 50s finishing stone that I used in a previous video. So wish me luck. So I'm gonna strike it across my nail there, and I do feel some pops along the edge, and so I'm going to take off a little bit of the very edge of it with the lowest grit stone. My main concern with honing up this razor, especially without the spine, is that the geometry would be messed up. So when they design straight razors, they do it in such a way that the spine is just thick enough to put the right angle on the very edge of the razor. So after a lot of hones and the edge gets brought up, or something like this where the spine gets brought down, you could possibly mess up that geometry. So I'm worried that the bevel, because this razor now is sitting almost flush with the stone, the bevel is going to be really high up, and I'll be basically honing the whole face of the blade. But as you can see, as I check the edge of the blade back and forth as I go, the bevel seems to be reasonable, seems to be okay. And look at that. It's actually like across the whole face of the blade, and it's not too far up. What I was concerned about was that this spine smiles, or that the whole blade smiles so much. Like you can see the curve in the edge where it's curved like a saber almost. So I learned as I went through this hone, and some of you guys already know this, but as you're honing a curved blade, you have to like start with the spine and then rotate towards the toe, or yeah, start at the heel and then rotate towards the toe as you get to the edge. And so I got to be better at that through the course of this honing. But yeah, it's just a nuance of having a curved blade. Yeah, that's coming right along. Seems to be. Wait a minute. What is that? Oh, that was. I was feeling it was dull, and yeah, it was just was that the belly of the blade right there wasn't sharpening. It wasn't feeling great. And when I saw that, it looked like some damage, some kind of some like if someone had dropped it on the edge of the blade. It almost looked like the steel had delaminated, like it's seen little bumps. And you go back in the video and look at the picture, but it was yeah, it looked like a dent. And unfortunately, that damage couldn't be taken out by my high grit stone, so I go back to my Japanese waterstone. All of these little pieces you're seeing right there are just paper. It's not like burrs of the metal. It's from the tissue paper. But yeah, I had to go back to this stone and hone it. I kind of edited out probably 10 minutes worth of honing, but yeah, I went back to the low grit stone to work out that damage, and then went back to this higher grit water stone. It was just, as you see, it gets kind of frustrating when you have to go back and rework, but it's part of the hobby. But I tell you what, as someone else commented on my videos, the work you do in the mid-levels of the stone are where it pays off. So the rougher stone, I went back and then I spent more time on the higher grit stones to make up for it. This finishing stone that I got off of eBay, I don't remember how much. I tried at first to make it a water stone, but it wasn't happy. It's definitely an oil stone, as somebody else in my comments mentioned about on my video of using vintage stones to hone a vintage razor. It definitely was an oil stone, and it was already so sharp that I was worried about cutting my hand. But you have to hold it in your hand like this. I can imagine like slipping and slicing the edge of my finger off. So I had it on the edge of my hand, but oh my goodness, that thing, it was so sharp when it came off of this finishing stone. I don't know what grit it is. It's definitely finer than my arc. I can feel my arc, and this I can't feel, and it's very hard. So I'm tempted to keep this stone. It's just amazing. But yeah, I was going to talk about how sharp it was. So this razor, I do the 3-finger sharpness test, and if it catches on your fingerprints, it's like, okay, well that's pretty sharp. And I use 3 fingers to test along the edge, so it's not just one place. So you only have to touch once, so I'm not going over and over. So I do 3 fingers at once. But this razor, it like grabbed my fingerprints. Like I did the 3-finger test, and I felt like I had to I did work to get my fingers off of it. This razor was just so grabby, which is a good thing and also a very scary thing. Alright, so now I'm going to have a happy shave with this CBL soap called Smolder, which I think is a pretty fun name. Anyway, here it is. The Swedish frame back with no frame back. It was pretty cool because without that tube on the back, you could see the forge marks of it. It looked really forged. And from what I read, Ergstrom went to London and studied under Wolstenholme, and then was proud of the Swedish iron. And apparently the Swedish iron was known for its hardness and durability. So he went back to Sweden and started creating these razors, which of course now are pretty well known. These Swedish framebacks are amazing. And unfortunately, he didn't have a very long run. He only went until 1921, and then another company bought it. So you'll find these Engstrom frameback razors, and the one I have is really from the glory days of when he went back to Sweden. I'm gonna try to shave with my left hand a little bit here. I'm still practicing, still learning the left-handed thing. I'm gonna get behind my ear and you can see how thin the blade is right there. That is nothing like the big heavy English razors that this guy would have learned about. feeling pretty good about how this razor is cutting because I can only hear it. Like, you know the feeling when your skin pulls with the razor, and when the razor just moves, and the only response you get is the audio response of your hairs shaving. When I was done with this first pass, I'll do a second pass. And sometimes I edit out the transitions where I wash off the razor in the bowl and when I move, so it's not a completely unedited video, even though I feel like it's going a little long, but that's just because I'm the one watching myself. So you guys let me know in the comments if you prefer heavily edited, where it's just like shows 2 seconds of lathering, 2 seconds of shaving, or if you like the long form videos. And you guys know when I go against the grain, I use my left hand there to feel ahead of the razor to know not only does it feel where the hair is, but it also stretches the skin a little bit. You just have to be careful that your razor doesn't get ahead of you, otherwise you'll nick your finger. But it really helps to give you some kind of sense of where you're shaving and where the hair is. And the second pass really is magic. You can look like you're shaved with a first pass, but the second pass you feel like you're shaved. It's just amazing. I got a BBS shave from this. My wife actually, after this shave, was feeling my head and said she doesn't think that I've ever had a head this smooth, and that I really need to seriously consider keeping this razor. The first time that I ever did a straight razor shave, it was with my first straight razor. It was a 1920s Larkin, and my wife had told me, don't shave your head without her there, because it was like, we were just terrified of straight razors. There were horror movies about straight razors. So we didn't know very much. I'd watched some YouTube videos on shaving my first time, but I couldn't not. She had gone to church a little early, and so I was going to come to church later. And so she went to her meeting, and when she saw me at church, I had a bandage on the back of my head, and she just shook her head at me and was like, "You didn't." I was like, I took pictures of it. It was bad. I got really hurt the first time that I shaved my head, because there was not a lot of YouTube videos. There wasn't a whole lot. And anyway, the point was I'd cut myself and had to put a bandage on the back of my head. And I'll tell more of that story later. But suffice it to say, doing a little bit better now. At this point, I'm just kind of cleaning up. I'm just doing touch-ups of little patches that had felt a little rougher than the others, because everything else was so stinking smooth. So if I feel anything that's like barely rough, I'm like, well, that's not as much as the other one. So anyway, after this, I clean off with cold water and then use my Duke aftershave balm. You guys are great. Thanks for all the comments and for watching the video. I really appreciate all the support the shaving community gives each other. And I hope that this helped you get a happy shave. Anyway, happy shaving.